Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 13. This is the Brahma Vimoha Lila. Krishna's friends get kidnapped by Lord Brahma, his bewilderment and his testing of Krishna. And this is beginning with text number 49. Angri mastakam apurnas Tulasina vadami bihi Komalai sarva katreshu Bhuri punyad vad arpithai. Translation: every part of their bodies, from their feet to the tops of their heads, was fully decorated with fresh, tender garlands of tulasi leaves, offered by devotees engaged in worshiping the Lord by the greatest pious activities, namely hearing and chanting. Purport: the word Bhuri, Punyavad Arpitahai, is significant in this verse. These forms of Vishnu were worshipped by those who had performed pious activities, Sukriti Bihi, for many births, and who were constantly engaged in devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Bhakti, devotional service, is the engagement of those who have performed highly developed pious activities. The accumulation of pious activities has already been mentioned elsewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 12, 11, where Shukadeva Goswami says, Itam satam brahma sukhanu bhuyat dasyam gatanam paradevatena mayashritanam naradarakena sakam vijahu krita punya punya.
Bless you.
Oh, gracias. Achyuta. Those who are engaged in self-realization, appreciating the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, and those engaged in devotional service, accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Master, as well as those who are in the clutches of Maya, depicting the Lord as an ordinary person, cannot understand that certain exalted personalities, accumulated volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord in friendship as cowherd boys. In our Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, there is a tamal tree that covers the entire corner of the courtyard. Before there was a temple, the tree was lying neglected, but now it has developed luxuriantly, covering the whole corner of the courtyard. This is a sign of Bhuri Punya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So here, as usual, Srila Prabhupada expertly brings it to the essence. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. He brings it to he expertly gives us a nice spoil of the essential message of Gita and Bhagavatam. There's Chaitanya Charana. He gives this class where he talks about the different aspects of Srila Prabhupada's purports, and he compares the necessity of repeating the essence in verses that seemingly are not so directly addressing it. And he gives this example of there is a plane crash that happened. I don't remember all the details, but one of the aspects of the plane crash was that the people in the tower, there was a question and they answered okay, and what that okay meant was unclear. There was after that, and these two planes, actually one plane came down, the other plane was moving to take off, and they both collided within each other, and this was the biggest accident in history, and there was over 700 people that died. And so after that accident, they decide the rules tighten up on how they discuss, how they have their dialogue in the tower between the planes. That their words like okay are not allowed. It has to become very clear. There's lots of repetition. There's lots of checks and balances to make sure that the message is very, very clear. So in movies, oftentimes we don't want spoils. We don't want the being told, what happens at the end. Don't tell me. Actually, it was the butler who did it. We don't want to hear, especially some murder mystery. We don't want to hear who was the actual killer. So Srila Prabhupada, he takes that and he and it's a terrible word, but he basically spoils it. He brings it to the essence right at the end. Although second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is not so directly talking about bhakti, he brings up the essence. And why does he do that? Because we're in Kali Yuga and it's so easy to make mistakes. And so there's this repetition that goes on. There's a very there's a clarity of speech that makes sure that huge mistakes and accidents don't happen. And so when someone reads first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, they already know very clearly Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotional service is the highest way to connect to him. So here it's talking about punya, sukritibihi. And so Krishna, he speaks about this punya. He talks about the duskritis. So can someone name what are the 4 duskritis? Who's ready to name the 4 duskritis? Tamam duskritina mudha prapadyante naradama maya pritagyana suram bhavam ashritaha. So you have duskritis. What are duskritis? So these are those who have kriti. They have these credits, but they're misusing them. So you have namam duskritino mudha, prapadyante na prapadyante. These are those who do not surrender. And you have mudha. What is mudha? This is means fool, murko, fool. Once my spiritual master, he was distributing books in the O'Hare airport. And there was a very belligerent Christian that was there. He was actually a Christian from India and very, very aggressive. And so he was following him around and he was trying to interfere with all the dialogue that he was trying to connect with people. And he would say, oh, these people are the devil. And after a while, he became very upset and he said, "You're a Buddha." And he became so flustered and he ran off and he grabbed a security guard. He said, "He called me a Buddha. He called me a Buddha." And he became very upset. And the security guard didn't understand it. And security guard drove him off. And then His Holiness Praladananda Swami continued in his book distribution in the old Hare temple, airport. So Krishnadaya has got him there. So this man became so offended. Mudha, Krishna is using constantly in the Bhagavad Gita. A fool. So the fool is like a donkey. It's a real American dream. You know, if you work really hard, you'll get everything. You know, all your dreams of affluence and opportunities are there. You just have to work. Work is, you know, and the donkey, he works excessively hard. What does it say in Nectar of Instruction? Prayasas, excessively hard, even if there's no possibility of success. Or even if the thing that he's working for is easily available outside of work. So the donkey is working for grass, and there's grass everywhere. So similarly, a person's working may perhaps excessively to obtain too many things, not just to maintain themselves, but to put themselves in a position that is above their quota, and thus they work really hard just to attain things that are already available. The happiness is available already, but they're working extra hard to get it. So that is the Mudha. Then you have the Naradama. Nara, you know, this Adhama, down, Adamukha Shvanasana for all the you yogis there. Naradama, one who has previously had some spiritual culture, but they have dragged themselves down. That's the Naradama. Then there is Maya Pritagyana. This is Prashita. Prita means to this Hari. This Prita means to steal. Hari is the thief. Krishna is called what? Chitahari, Manohari, thief of the heart. So Maya Apritagyana, one whose knowledge has been stolen by illusion. So Maya Apritagyana. So that's we enter, say, a simple country boy. He goes to a university, and previously he had great faith in the Lord. And after his so-called education, he becomes atheistic. So he becomes less aware and than in his previous position. So his education, his knowledge has actually been stolen by his so-called education. Maya Pritagyana and Asuram, those who are just openly antagonistic. So those are the Duskritis. And who are the Sukritis? Sukritis. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arti jigyasu artarti gyani cha bhartarshava. So you have the desire of wealth, the one who's in distress, the desire of wealth, the curious, the gyanina, and the gyani, the real seeker of the absolute. And in the four varnas, this is who's always in distress. As we heard, Shudra, Shud means to lament. So Shudra is generally in that category, approaching God in distress. Who's seeking wealth? The Vaishya, seeking wealth. And the Kshatriya, he is Jnanina, he's curious, he's controlling, he is lord of the land. So he's curious, how does this whole thing run? Who's in charge? And there's the Brahmana, he is seeking Brahman. So he is the Jnani, he is seeking, what is God? And so, Udara Sarvevite, Jnanin Vaime, before that, Chaturveda bhajante mam jana sukritina arjuna arti jigyasu artati gyana cha bhartarshava tesham gyana nityayukta. Krishna expresses his great affection for those who are actually seeking him without trying to just solve some material problem. He says, Tesham Gyani Nityukta Ekabhakti Rishishyate Priya Gyani no Tartam Ahamsa Chama Priya. Very dear to me. Now one may think, well, maybe I'm not that Brahmana. Maybe I approach Krishna and so many times in distress. He says, Udar Sarva, they're actually all very dear to me. But that Gyani, the one who is actually, this is not Gyani in the sense of the Jnana Yoga, but one who is sincerely seeking without, they're not a Sakama, they're Nishkama Bhakta. They're really trying to understand Krishna. Gyanat Mahimamatam Astita Sakti Uttatma Mam Evana Tamam Gatim. And even for the path of jnana, we see what is the conclusion of jnana. Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyante. After many, many lifetimes of perfection of jnana, one comes to the position of, this word is there constantly in this chapter, Prapadyante, surrender. He talks about those who surrender to the demigods, those who don't surrender. There's throughout the chapter, there's many of these prapadyantes. Vasudevam sarvam niti, understanding that I'm everything. Samahatma sudurlabha, that soul is very rare. So he says the perfect culmination of jnana comes to surrender to Krishna. And so here we see that this verse, Prabhupada quotes that the position of the devotees, this is very hard to understand. You see Brahma, we all, make mistakes. Brahma, he is hearing Bhagavatam, his body is made out of intelligence, he hears with full consciousness, and still he makes a mistake. Maybe we're listening. Like if we were to ask all of us, even the speaker included, what was the verse about? We would probably be quite challenged without reading it, because the consciousness is not very strong and fixed. We our mind goes all over the place, and it takes a lot of intentional to hear. It takes intention to engage any of the senses. It takes that consciousness to be very, very intentional. So Brahma, he hears, and still he's making a mistake. There are three big mistakes that we all make. First is not understanding our own position. And then the next mistake is not understanding the position of Krishna. Like one disciple, he wanted to study. Actually, a whole bunch of disciples, they wanted to study, and then the guru gave all of them apples and said, okay, go to a place where nobody is looking and eat this apple. And so they all came back. They all had their stomachs full of apples, except for this one disciple. And then that one disciple said, I could not find a place where the Paramatma is not watching. And he said, okay, you come into the school. The rest, you're not ready yet. And so misunderstanding the position of Krishna. But even more than that is misunderstanding the position of his devotees. So here it's saying those who approach that are engaged in self-realization, appreciating Brahman effulgence, those engaged in devotional service, and well as those in clutches of Maya, all three of them can't understand these cowherd boys. They're just totally confused. Okay, now we have this on the bottom here. Prabhupada talks about the tumultuary. The tumultuary is, when they were there, the original plans was to remove the tree. That was the plans of the architect, to remove the tree in the courtyard. And devotees approached Srila Prabhupada, and I believe actually it was they had, was it Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji, another devotee who is always engaged in kirtan, and he actually submitted their message to Srila Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, there's only 3 Tamal trees in just in the Vrindavan proper. There's maybe 5 in Vraj. It's very hard to find Tamal trees and not very common. And Prabhupada said, yes, definitely, we don't want to cut down the tree, what to speak of the Tamal tree. And so they kept this tree that was not being cared so nicely. But after it was, after due course of time, the tree grew very nicely. And one day it left. It's actually being overwatered. And if any of you have been to Ayendra Prabhu's room, you'll see the original, one of the parts of that tree enshrined in his altar there, big, huge stump. And actually using one of the branches of that same Tamal tree, the current tree that is there is actually grown from the original Tamal tree. So again, there's a Tamal tree. And Tamal trees are, they're certain different, they have nice qualities. Let's see. Prabhupada, he said that you take a teaspoon of the soil mixed with sand and water from the Yamuna, and in a coconut husk, you should clean all the RT paraphernalia with this very holy substance. I think someone's got the same link there. I'm looking up some information. This is from Memories from Yamuna. Prabhupada would sit under that tree. The Tamal tree gives very nice shade. Its bark is very, very hard, and its leaves are very, very soft. And so we have Dinabandhu Prabhu. He writes this nice poem, or he writes this nice offering in connection to Tamal Krishna Goswami. If any of you have been anywhere with Dinabandhu Prabhu, he knows a lot about his the plants in Vrindavan. So he says, in the courtyard of Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, there stood a tall and shady Tamal tree. Tamal trees are strong and provide very dense, cool shade from the blazing sun. It stood there for years, decorating one corner of the temple courtyard, and no one could ever imagine such a wonderful tree would leave us. But one day, unexpectedly, he left. Originally, the tree was small and not so beautiful. The architect planned to cut him down as he was in the way of laying out the temple. Srila Prabhupada intervened and saved that Tamal tree. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada found one unkept living fellow living in a tree. As you know, when Prabhupada met Tamal Krishna Goswami, he was naked in a tree. He was part of the hippie culture, and there was some, I forget, some Northern California, some mid-California, and saving him from being cut down by the onslaught of Maya. Just as Srila Prabhupada protected the Tamal tree in the courtyard, it grew into a lovely tree loved by all. Prabhupada protected this Tamal, and he grew into a wonderful devotee, respected by all. Tamal trees are very strong and can weather all types of difficult conditions. So Tamal was very strong, and Srila Prabhupada used his service in the most difficult situations. The Tamal tree is famous for his dense foliage. Our Tamal was the same way, filled with unlimited amounts of knowledge of Krishna. Those dense leaves of the Tamal tree provide pleasing shade for all from the hot summer sun. So Tamal, filled with devotion for Srila Prabhupada, gave soothing shelter to many, many souls from the blazing sun of material existence. The wood of the Tamal tree is excessively hard and difficult to cut, but the leaves of the Tamal are especially smooth and soft. Krishna's soft fingers are called Pallava. Yatpada Pallava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha, meaning the soft, newly grown leaves. I once showed the soft, newly grown leaves of the Tamal tree to Umapati Swami. He remarked that in the very old days, 26 Second Avenue, Srila Prabhupada had shown them how to put on tilak. His soft, delicate fingers running up their forehead felt just like this Tamal leaf. And if you've seen pictures of Srila Prabhupada's feet, they They look soft, extremely soft. Still, he was very soft and caring. Our Tamal was also extremely firm in his service to Srila Prabhupada, very stern in keeping others in Prabhupada's line. Still, he was very soft and caring for all the devotees around him. In the beginning of the hot season, Tamal trees become filled with thousands and thousands of small yellow, white, bell-shaped flowers that exude a subtly sweet perfume. Especially in the morning, you'll find hundreds of bees, humming bees, attracted to the scent, bubbling here and there, extracting nectar from those fragrant flowers. When the breeze blows, you can catch a fragrance even in the Gurukul building. Our Tamal scented this world with the sweet fragrance of Radha Krishna's pastimes and the glory of Vrindavan. But unlike the Tamal tree, he did this in all season and all times. Many bee-like devotees buzzing with the Mahamantra always used to surround him, drinking the relishable nectar of Krishna Lila and Kirtan Ras. And this fragrance spread not just nearby, but throughout the entire world. No one imagined this beautiful stout Tamal tree would leave us soon. But one day he fell to the ground and was gone. No one could imagine that our Tamal would leave us so soon. But one day he left us in the holy Dham and was gone. And now we sit here and weep with only memories of our Tamals to keep us alive. That's a nice offering by Dinabandhu Prabhu. And so we have two verses that we were meant to cover. So this is verse 50. Chandrika Vishada Smere Saruna Panga Vikshitai Swakartam Tanam Eva Raja Satvabam Shrashtapalakaha. Those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, they had their Chandrika smiles. So there it is. And their sidelong glances of their reddish eyes. My eyes might be reddish right now. The Soul Talks program last night was very nice. There was so many people. Everybody was hanging out there till late. Created and but not transcendently red. Their minds will not be transcendent. Created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. So the sidelong glances created and protected the desires of their own devotees. And so this is the purport. Those Vishnu forms bless the devotees with their clear glances and smiles, which resembled the increasing full light of the moon. Shreya Kaira Chandrika Vitaranam. As maintainers, they glanced upon their devotees, embracing them and protecting them by smiling. I don't know if you've heard in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it describes how when Krishna's smile, the beauty of the gopis increase. And when the beauties of the gopis increase, then Krishna's glorious smile increases. And when Krishna's glorious smile increases, then the beauty of the gopis as an expression of their devotion increases. And when the beauty of their devotion and their forms increases, then Krishna's glory of his smile increases even more. And so like this, it is Anandam Bhudi Vardhanam, ever increasing. My wife had a dream. She was dancing with Kalachandji. They were spinning, and it said like she just said his smile was like she every time he would smile, she would feel so much happy, and then he would see her happy and he would smile. I was like, that's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so she had this dream in Kalachandji Park. They're dancing and smiling, and other devotees, like little kids that grew up there, they also had dreams of Kalachandji dancing in that park. This one, maybe some of you know Shakshi Gopal, his sister Indulekha, maybe you know Indulekha. She had a dream where Kalachandji and Radharani were asking, who's a better dancer? are you a better dancer or I'm a better dancer? And so they said, okay, I don't know, let's see. And so um, so Krishna he came off the altar and he started dancing in the temple room, and he was doing like this dance, and everybody was so amazed. And then this little girl's dream, she said Radharani spun off the altar and she started dancing, and everybody kept on fainting in like waves and ecstasy. They'd get up and then faint again, just like seeing how beautiful Srimati Radharani was dancing. Their smiles resembled the mode of goodness, protecting the desires of the devotees, and their glancing of their eyes resembled the mode of passion. Actually, in this verse, the word Raja is not passion, but affection. In the material world, Rajaguna is passion. In the spiritual world, it is affection. In the material world, affection is contaminated by Rajaguna, Tamaguna. But in the Shuddha Sattva, affection is that maintains the devotees, is transcendental. The word Swakartanam refers to great desires. As mentioned in this verse, the glance of Lord Vishnu creates the desires of the devotees. A pure devotee, however, has no desires. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami comments that because the desires of the devotees whose attention is fixed on Krishna has already been fulfilled, the Lord's sidelong glance creates variegated desires in relation to Krishna and devotional service. In the material world, desires are a product of Rajaguna and Tamaguna, but desire in the spiritual world gives rise to a variety of everlasting transcendental service. Thus the word Swakartanam, or Swakartanam, refers to eagerness to serve Krishna. And last part, in Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple, but the devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what is once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. I don't know if does anybody have the confirmation if this is the Sanat Goswami's temple that he established. Such are the desires of a devotee. Om Tat Sat. So that's the end of the purport there. Stop here and ask if there's some reflections, some things to share. Maybe there's a question.
Let there be a question. Anything in the temple room? Great class, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu. You're so natural at it. And the books make you look solid and legit.
There's more coming.
Cool. Okay, questions, reflections. Temple room, we're supposed to give you priority. Okay. This was your chance, temple room. We're going to the online audience. William Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, William Prabhu, go ahead.
Thank you for this wonderful class. I have a question. Maybe it's a reflection or question. I was drawn to the tree. I was thinking about the tree in where we serve Prasadam. I forgot the name of the park.
Tompkins Square Park.
Right. Tompkins Square. So that tree, what was? I mean, I was not born yet, but that tree, was it planted by Prabhupada?
No.
No. Okay.
He was there. He would chant under. It was, a fully grown tree.
Cool.
When he was there. Yeah.
And what is that on your shirt mean? I was a little.
Oh, it's the Shringadev.
Sweet.
Yes, it's a kind of comic version, the Shringadev.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. The Lion King. Simba. Actually, Simha, it means both king and lion. So it's interesting. We have the Lion King.
Krishna Daya Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class, especially the way you map the 4 types of people who approach Lord, and then with the 4 varnas. So that is really, touching. So I just wanted, can you little bit elaborate on the difference between Jignasu and Jnani?
Yeah. Let's see. Do I have any notes? Yes. They let me see. I might have notes somewhere on those verses. Bhagavad Gita. Any notes on those verses? So there's different kinds of different types of bhaktas that are in the 7th chapter. Those aren't the only 4 that are there. There's I think 5 or 6 different types of devotees described in 7th chapter. And so those are the Sakama bhaktas. Let me see, are those 3? Or no, maybe I have some notes. Maybe, I hope. Actually, if you notice the order, Artha Jigyasur, Artha Arti, the Jigyasur is actually placed in the middle, even though it's not the natural order. Natural order would be the like the distressed seeker of wealth. He's placed because he holds a special position, because he's actually a little bit more closer to the Jnani in the sense that he's more of a seeker. And so it's the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur stated that, yeah, he's placed there kind of like, just like we put the important thing in the middle of the sandwich, and the important chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are in the middle. So that part is there is because it's, oh my God, I was just on my Bhagavad Gita chapter. Let's see if I can find any notes in the 7th chapter. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I have any notes right here. 4 types. Some notes for the previous, for the mood, actually 8. Another thing is you can look also, this is to the verse 1867, those who you should not teach Bhagavad Gita to. Those can be connected to 715, the Duskritis, and 1867. Yeah. Those there are 4 that are mentioned there, and they're both in line with those.
Not austere, not devoted, not engaged in devotion service, and
So not austere is the Shudra, not devoted is a Nabhakta, is a Naradama. The deceitful are the the Ashushave, and the Asuram, Abhyasuyati, the atheistic. I had some notes. I don't. There's some you can.
And also just follow up, like how could you map the? I mean, Kshatriya, how they fall into the inquisitive character. I mean, they are more in the administrative things, right? So
so the Kshatriya is what, like the Kshatriya, he walks into the temple and he wants to know who's in charge.
Yeah.
The Vaishya is thinking like, how much money does this place get? Where, how, they're everybody is thinking a certain way.
And the Jnani means like what can I learn from a temple, or
Yeah. And here, this jnani is not necessarily, it's actually real personal seeker of God.
Yeah.
It's not jnani in the sense of jnana yoga. It's as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, jnani in practically in name only.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Champakalata has something to share.
Haripurush Prabhu has something.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, wonderful class. We really feel very steady. It says to hear the discourses given by the Sat, the pure devotee, is very pleasing to the ear and satisfying to the heart. So your sincerity comes through in the class. Wonderful. We were mentioned yesterday the idea that like it's talking about how cultivating. These people cultivated pious activities for a long time, and therefore they had access to service to the Lord. And the cultivation, just like when you have, it's an agrarian analogy. They cultivate the topsoil, right? I know when we went to Vrindavan, there were fields that were neglected, and if you drop a shovel on the field, it just bounces off because it's just become clay. There's no nourishment to the soil. It's not rich and doesn't. It's not loose or in any way. It's just hard, almost like a rock, And then we were putting down cover crops and plowing them into the soil, and then the soil becomes like an inch of topsoil, then 2 inches, then 10 inches, then 18 inches, and there's like this living, cultivated surface where when you plant something there, it grows like anything. And we were getting like putting the cow manure in there, and it was getting like 250 bushels of corn for an acre instead of like our neighbors were getting 150 or something like that. We using chemicals. So cultivating our love is an interesting thing. And we were talking yesterday about what is so attractive about these particular calves, that the cows came running down from the hill. And what was so attractive about these particular boys who were actually Krishna, that the parents just responded with extraordinary love, right? And what we were thinking was, Krishna was showing us that the thing that was attractive was that these calves who were Krishna loved their parents. The most important feature of Krishna is not just his earrings and his beautiful lotus eyes, but the fact that he loves us, And then as we cultivate our own heart and allow it to open and awaken, then we're perceiving that love that Krishna has, and the desire to reciprocate with that is increasing. And this devotee William, who was just on there, we've seen he has such love in his heart, When we're walking around the East Village, if there's a dog, even if it's half a block away, he starts to vibe toward that dog, and the dog will just start pulling the master to William. So we can actually emote that, that our affection for someone, and Krishna certainly does, to the extraordinary way, like he does everything. And that loving exchanges, we are loving beings. And where we're going with all this knowledge and all these austerities, it says, what is the use of the power of controlling the senses, the power of speech, the control of the mind, without devotional service, without love? What's the point? Who can live in a world where there's no loving relationships? So it says, Rupa Goswami says, when we reawaken our dormant love for Krishna, our genuine affection for everyone is also awakened, so that we can actually show love to each other. In this world, everybody's envious of everybody, competing and, afraid in some way or another. So on one end of the spectrum, there's fear, and at the other spectrum, there's love. I'm going to throw that out a little bit, the idea of Krishna loves us.
Yeah, I was just reading yesterday Srila Prabhupada's letter to a Soviet minister of culture when they were banning religion in the Soviet Union, and they were cracking down on some Christian communities there. And Srila Prabhupada found out about it from the newspaper. And he was writing a letter to the minister saying, yes, we agree, religion without philosophy is just a sentiment. You were talking about love and philosophy. It's both. It's both. If there's no philosophy, and our love is just a sentiment, right? Just wanted to add to that. Is that Radha Murladhar?
And speaking of love, here comes Kuli with his loving concha.
Thank you so much. Loving Kanchel, yes. Please place us on the donation box. We want to see Kula Pradeepa and we want to hear him. That's an act of devotion from our
The
Pujari.
gopis didn't have any philosophy.
Okay. Let's discuss that tomorrow.
Play it on your phone or sing? Oh, yeah. Where is my phone? It's over there.
Suspense.
After the lunch, we'll put out.
A little higher, please. No, they cut it out. They cut us out. The very moment I was anticipating and looking forward to. Krishna. Okay. Bhima Prabhu, are you still here? Are we in your pocket?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Yeah, Bhima
How may
Prabhu
I
correct-
serve you?
Yeah, I liked your point, how gopis did not have any philosophy. Would you like to elaborate on that?
I don't know. I don't know what the gopis are thinking. Yes, I do know what the gopis are thinking. When we see a thing of beauty, a thing of beauty is a joy forever with a capital T. If we realize that all beauty, all wealth, opulence, all intelligence, all wisdom, all variety comes from Krishna, then what need do we have for the stream when we have the reservoir? So that's basically it. You don't need to have a lot of Sanskrit or a lot of verses to understand that we have the gopis saw the beauty of Krishna, fell in love with him, and lolyam, yearned after him. So that's how I figure. That's what it says in the Bhagavatam. So they did not do a lot of philosophy. They had the darshan of Krishna. And so therefore there was no thought in their mind as to why they should love Krishna and what they should abandon. They simply ran out the front door in the middle of the night. So let us take that as an example. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. There's this story of a Brahmana. He was reading Bhagavad Gita, and the book was turned upside down, and he was crying. And when he was asked, "How are you? How it's backwards?" And he said, "I'm illiterate. I can't even read, but my guru told me to serve this book, so here I am doing my best." And he was glorified, I believe, by Lord Chaitanya. I'm not sure. I hope Krishnadaya stayed.
Chaitanya, I love that passage. Chaitanya said, that's the appropriate purport of the Gita.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich Bhakti. You bailed us out from embarrassment. What's your takeaway, Rich? Unmute yourself. Unmute.
Takeaway today. Nowhere, I was going to say, even if for us Shudras seeking Krishna in our distress, know for starters that there's nowhere that you may eat an apple and not be seen by someone, because Krishna, as the Paramatma, is everywhere. And I often
Krishna's
like
in
to
the apple even.
in the app, exactly. And I love the instruction of Krishna to Uddhava in the 11th canto, and he says, disregard the ridicule of your companions and abandon the embarrassments of the bodily conception, and lay like a rod paying your obeisances to the outcasts, to the cows, and to the asses. And all I could add to that, the mice and the hamsters.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, gosh, just for those, what a wonderful reminder. From air traffic control, we may think things are okay, but thank you to Nityananda, Chandra. Thank you to the devotees every day. Thank you to Srila Prabhupada for giving that repetitive, clear, concise message day after day after day after day, because we need it to avoid all the collisions in our heads. And for starters, let us remember the presence of God everywhere and everything, moving and non-moving. Just pay our obeisances.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you, Rich. Any takeaways from our audience? Sundarananda or William?
I'd just like.
Sorry, go ahead, Prabhu.
Bhima Prabhu?
I was just going to say what a wonderful observation by Rich.
Rich Bhakti. Rich
Rich
Bhakti. Or
Bhakti.
Rich Bhagavatam.
He's rich. He's rich in bhakti. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. Sundaranandaji?
Yes, Prabhu. I was just reading the two takeaways that Ananda Manjari had posted about Krishna's smile. Like he looks at devotees and the smile increases more and more, and then and then it increases the beauty. His beauty keeps increasing. So I was thinking this infinite this world of infinite beauty and increasing bliss is awaiting us if we can just stay. And someday, because the Prabhupada promised, right, that someday, if you stay in my movement, you will get back to Godhead. Someday, some lifetime is what awaits us if we can just stay through all the bleak winters outside and in our life. We can get there someday. Hold on to the dhoti. Someday we'll get there.
Yeah. Thank you, Sundarananda. And I was thinking of Srila Prabhupada's smile. What a smile Srila Prabhupada had. And that's available right there. We have pictures and videos of Srila Prabhupada smiling. Yeah, thank you. Any other takeaways? Bhima Prabhu keeps unmuting himself. He's tempted to glorify Krishna.
I was actually going to say, I can't remember what devotee described it this way, but it was just a beautiful description of Prabhupada's smile, which was oceanic. Prabhupada had an oceanic smile because it stretched from, because it was such a wide, wonderful smile, just the joy through and through, but it also stretched from coast to coast, so to speak. Yeah, oceanic. I thought that was a wonderful description of Prabhupada's smile.
Nice. Oceanic. Thank you. My takeaway is that when Adipusha Prabhu was sharing how William Prabhu greets the dogs and cats in the East Village, I was thinking, yes, that's us. I was once a dog, and then there was a devotee who took the time to greet me, to welcome me, to accommodate my foolishness and sort things out in my heart and in my head. So thank you, William Prabhu. We don't know who those dogs are and how this is going to play out in their lives. So William Prabhu, you're the Acharya.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Do that to your mice and hamsters and roaches and whatever else Bhima Prabhu is releasing into your apartment. Yeah. All right. Okay. Any other takeaways? Okay. All right. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's oceanic smile ki jai. Hare Krishna. See you again tomorrow, and have a wonderful